certainly going to be difficult, but this is multi-class, Joey, so nothing he's not used to.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this West Series, that we've got the Caymans and the GT3 Cup cars together, kind of like a multi-class format, just like what we'll see in the endurance race a little bit later today. But speaking of the Caymans, I see that Tim Smith has actually moved his way up into the second place position past Greg Herbeck. So he's chasing down his rival back from out in Spring Mountain, Tom Rogers, out front.
Well, and Rogers has a bone to pick, I think, because remember, he finished first on the road, but unfortunately found himself demoted due to a penalty. So he is going to have to try and see if he can keep it clean this time. So far, so good. Haven't seen anything from race control about the start for him, and he is still holding on to that lead. But Smith and Herbeck are close behind.
As they all kind of make their way through this turn 9A chicane, you see how much curb each one of these drivers has taken, and Herbeck a lot more aggressive over that second apex curb than what we saw out of Tim Smith, and sometimes that can upset the car, the platform of the car. It seems like Tim was able to get the power down nicely and kind of get away from Herbeck.
See Jim Walsh there also trying to stay close behind. If he could get by Metney, he could try and challenge Washington, see if he could get himself a victory. In fact, I'll have to double check the stats to see if he's had a victory last season. Sure would be something if Jim was unable to manage a win for his full season, and in his partial season he suddenly finds himself topping the steps.
Hey, you know what? It's racing. Not every day is going to be the same out here. You just kind of got to take what you can grab sometimes on the racetrack. And I love this battle developing for second. It was obviously Washington that made that huge aggressive move into turn number 6, that first lap, but Metney is far from giving up.
Well, and this track, Anna, is kind of known for being difficult to pass at. I wonder if that was kind of crucial in Washington's mind to make that happen early.
Yeah, definitely. It's very tricky to find a place where you can make a pass and be really confident about it. And with that, you want to make sure that that pass is going to be clean, because it could cost you the race if it's not.
Remember, we already saw at least one bit of contact between Blend and our other driver, Hankins, down there in the 295 there at the start. Still no word from race control, other than I've just seen the incident is under review, so they are taking a look at it. And we'll keep you up to date if we get anything more from them. I wouldn't be too shocked if that was a penalty for Blend out there, but then we only got one look at it, Joey, so they may have seen something we didn't.
And it's a tough call, right? It's the first lap of the race. Call it turn number 2 up at the top of the hill. So everything is still cold. We talked about the ambient temperature still being cool out here. The track temperature is starting to warm up. The tires, they're still cold at that point. And when you crest over that hill, the car is already naturally getting loose. It's already unweighted. So sometimes it is even just the smallest little bit of a bump that can send a car around.
And I'm guessing it's probably a good thing that we didn't see any major damage on Blend's car, because we found out yesterday the West car is the one they're going to be using today in the Endurance Challenge.
Yeah, you're right. That car's got the refueling equipment essentially in it, so you can pop in the quick fill up in the hood area of these Porsches, you know, because that's where all the fuel goes into the fuel cell. And so, yeah, got to make sure they take care of that car. But Mike Johnson is always on top of it over there. He'll make sure that he's got a top-notch car come the Enduro.
He's still putting the pressure on there for second overall, but not for position. Looking down to the inside, it looks like we have a move from Hankins getting by Londo. So there's his first pass for position now that he's gotten past all the Caymans and trying to work his way back up. Glad to see he's not giving up on this one. He's making a charge.
Sometimes that's just kind of what you have to do. And Anna, what do you find yourself if you make a little mistake out there? Let's say you miss an apex one day. As a driver, you just kind of have to toss that out the window and continue to focus forward, don't you?
Yeah, totally, because if you get in your head about it, you often find yourself making more mistakes. So it's just really important to forget about it, compose yourself a little bit, and then get back to it. Otherwise, you might slow down even more.
They're through the chicane as we see our leader.
Also, Jack Perriott back there. So a little bit of a different dynamic today with Rogers kind of running away right now and Tim Smith absorbing all the pressure.
And the good news is we have heard word since yesterday that Jack Perriott is okay and has been released from the hospital. So we're very glad to see that. If you missed that race, Jack was in a massive accident. And obviously, you can see the car not here in this race, so it's done for the weekend.
And you know, big shout out to another race winner from yesterday, Manny Tartaglione. Remember, he collected that Pro-Am win in that Cayman GT4 class. That was definitely a big one for him as well.
Yep. For those curious, I know it says E. Tartaglione. It's Emmanuel, but he prefers to go by Manny. And, yeah, he's been doing a great weekend with nice, clean racing and bringing it home, getting himself his first victory in Porsche Sprint Challenge. Meanwhile, down into the braking of the hairpin, it's a little bit farther between P2 and P3, as it looks like Smith has now got things well under control.
And I want to bring you back in here because we're close to 10 minutes into this race, and you're so familiar with these Cayman GT4 platforms. When do you really feel that everything is up to temperature and ready to go?
You know, it really depends on the strategy of the team and where they decide to set the tires at the start of the race and how efficiently you can warm those tires up during those formation laps. However, you really can tell when those tires are fully in, especially with the cold temps, and it really gives you that confidence boost that you might be looking for to attack more mid-race while still trying to preserve the tires.
So we watch Greg now actually close back up a little bit on Tim Smith, finding some speed here. It does feel a bit like Greg kind of is someone who shows up and needs to learn a little bit, but once he gets a hang of it, he finds some incredible speed. Do you find yourself in similar situations, Anna, where maybe the first few laps are a bit of exploratory, but you get comfortable and faster as you go?
Yeah, definitely, especially after the start of a race. You can be a little overwhelmed sometimes, and so when you settle in, kind of feel out some corners, see how the track conditions are, you can definitely start to pick up that pace and just feel more comfortable in the car overall.
Greg, maybe challenging for a second place. Well, no, it'd be a third second place in a row, because race 2 at Spring Mountain, he finished P2 as well. So he'll be getting consistent. Just that raises the question, Joey, at what point does he finish on the top step?
Tim? Yesterday, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I meant Greg.
Oh, Greg, yeah, you know,
he's got back-to-back second places now. He could be getting a third here.
Yes, that is true, but, you know, you had mentioned just kind of picking up right where he left off. Remember, he had kind of an issue in one of the practice sessions. The team got the car back together, and then also just kind of feeling out the racetrack, like what Anna was saying. If there's going to be somebody to do that, it's going to be the ski racer. Remember, that's what his background is. He's constantly adapting to every condition out there, and he'll know when to attack.
Had a little bit of a bobble there coming off the chicane, shallow out of the corner, but he keeps close to the back of the Blue Angels machine as he keeps him honest down into turn 11. In fact, there was some defensive moves there from Smith into that hairpin. That will compromise him. Look how close the orange and black machine is getting now.
Starting to put the pressure on this blue number 70 as they cross by, start, finish, and start to head up the hill. And you can even see just as Tim lifts off the throttle, Herback is a little bit later, and even on the brakes a little bit later, up and over the crest of turn number 2, but that's going to cost him just a little bit on exit while Tim is able to accelerate away.
Does not want to give an opportunity to Greg whatsoever. And the longer they go, the more it looks like they're actually dropping off of Rogers. It's up to about 5 seconds, it seems, between them at this stage. So he's been running away. Meanwhile, out the window, I was just noticing that Scott Blend is on a recovery, and, well, good timing for me to bring him up, Joey. He has just been given a drive-through for incident responsibility, so much for that recovery drive.
Very unfortunate, definitely. But if we kind of go back a couple weeks ago to Sebring, I know it was a much longer race, but kind of the strategy put him on the back foot just where the pace car came out. He was a full lap down, came back to win the thing. Can't wait to see what he does today.
Exactly. And if I know Scott, though, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the type to put his hands up on that one. So he's a pretty fair racer and doesn't really want to do that sort of harm to others. As we watch on board, what was going to be a fight for second in Masters is unfortunately going to go away. And I wonder if that means we might see Michael Londo move up onto the podium. It depends on how far back he is at this stage.
Yeah, I think that's crucially what we'll have to watch here, because I see Londo crossing start-finish right now, just a little bit behind the rest of the pack. So after Blend is able to serve that penalty, we'll just kind of have to see where he blends out on the racetrack.
There you go. You've been hanging around me too much, honestly. We continue to watch the battle for P2 down in the Cayman category here. And it's been a bit stuck like this. We've seen a lot of cars like this weekend, Anna. Is it really this tough to try and get close enough for an attack?
I definitely think it can be quite a challenge, especially just the layout of this track specifically, because even if you do kind of see an opportunity just to present your car enough and make sure that the pass is clean and doesn't cost you any damage or anything, can be a definite challenge. So it's definitely a hard thing to do on this racetrack.
As Greg Herback is discovering, of course, he is back finally at a track that he raced last time, Joey, because he wasn't at Spring Mountain last year for the first round. He was here for Sonoma, which was actually the end of the season last time out, so it's still somewhat fresh in his mind and is using that experience to great effect.
Every time it's your first time to a brand new racetrack, it's always going to be learning, right? Day 1 learning, day 2 learning, day 3 learning, and then when you go back to second time, guess what? It's learning all over once again, but you've got that base knowledge, and you're right. I think that Sonoma Raceway is a little bit more of a prominent track out here on the West Coast just because Spring Mountain is so relatively new. Oh my goodness, Tim Smith in way too deep into that turn 9A chicane. That's going to probably cost him the position. Herback is trying to accelerate. They're side by side. Tim closes the door.
It looked like that was a bit of a lift from Greg. Did not trust that he could keep that car to the inside. Tim will survive in that second place, but just barely. Now we've got cracks in the wall, though. Is this the opportunity? Is this where we see Greg get a little bit more aggressive?
And you know, Anna, I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but I know that turn 9A chicane is so difficult. You yourself had a little bit of trouble there. What makes it so difficult?
It's really hard because you're trying to pull in as much speed from the straightaway before. However, if you go in a little too heavy, it's very easy to step out, especially trying to get the good acceleration out of the corner. So it can be a little hard, especially if you brake too deep, and then you find yourself in a situation very similar to that where you just can't quite make that turn.
So just an update, Blend has pitted, and I'm showing him out ahead of Londo, but we'll wait to get confirmation to see if he is still sitting in that third place and at least bringing home some hardware this weekend. If not, then Londo's going to try and grab this great opportunity himself. Meanwhile, we still watch the battle for P2 down in the Cayman class, the Cayman Masters class, we should clarify. Tartaglione running over in the Pro-Am down there currently. But these two sticking close together, and they definitely should have lost some time to Rogers because of that mistake as well.
Yeah, they're about 7+ seconds back right now, and I'm sure that Tom Rogers is saying, guys, where the heck was this yesterday when I needed it with my 10-second penalty?
That's a good point, yeah. Oh, and now it's reversed. It is instead Herback's turn to overshoot the corner, trading places. And unfortunately, this means that he has cost multiple car lengths up to the Blue Angel.
Yeah, just kind of went in a little bit too deep into that brake zone, just like what we saw Tim Smith that prior lap out here. So just kind of trading one for one, I guess.
And Anna, you race in these Caymans here over in the North America Series. What are these cars like around Sonoma? What's some of the significant characteristics you've noticed about it?
You know, I feel that the cars do handle very well. However, there are some very tricky corners, and if you can't quite master them, it can really cost you. So really focusing on corner speed and acceleration coming out of the corner is so important. And if you have a good setup and you understand how the car handles, it's very helpful for a racetrack like this.
Riding on board with Manny now, giving yesterday's winner a little bit of love here. And we have to remember as well, Joey, that he's racing here with his dad today, so I'm sure he's doing him proud out on the track.
Yeah, and he's currently leading that Pro-Am class as we're watching our GT3 Cup leader, who's actually kind of coming up right behind Manny on the racetrack, and of course, you know, two different classes, so Manny doesn't really have to worry about losing any points or any position as Luke French is going to drive by. But I think that's the whole point of getting out here and doing these races, especially if you're going to be doing the endurance race later. Get used to this multi-class format, and I got to give props to Manny. He just simply let Luke French by, opened the door. He realized that was the thing to do. Great heads-up racing.
Yes, good awareness from the 59 without a doubt. And also great job by Luke. I do love, because I know you've had your career over many years in racing, Joey, and getting to see you honestly talk to some of these younger drivers like Luke and offer some tips for them.
Yeah, I think that Luke was still learning on some of the restarts yesterday, so I was able to talk to him a little bit, just kind of how the flow of everything goes. And every racetrack, too, is a little bit different. You see really aggressive getting by one of these Cayman GT4 cars going into that chicane, but every racetrack's a little bit different. The start zone's a little bit different. The restart zone is going to be a little bit different. And as a young driver, you're not always experienced on leading the field to that green flag or leading it to that restart. And he was still feeling things out yesterday. We gave him a few little tips, and I'm sure that he remembered them. It's always a learning opportunity.
Yeah, we have to remember his first win only came back at Spring Mountain. He was not able to take any victories in the 2024 USA West season. So this is kind of some new experiences for him. And boy, is he really grabbing the chance. Like we said, he's taken 3 straight wins. He's about to make it 4 straight the way this race is going. Metni is now about 4 seconds behind him. So he isn't pulling away as massively as we've seen some gaps this weekend, but he's still keeping himself at a healthy length.
Yeah, Metni was able to get by Kyle Washington after Kyle had made that huge aggressive move on lap number 1 there. So it is 2 Pro-Am cars, first and second place, about 4.3 seconds between those cars, the 215 and the 298. But you're right, the lap times are nearly identical. Luke out front, a 39.51. Metni behind, a 39.49. What is that, 200ths of a second?
It's close. And 2 drivers that aren't close, but I'm curious if they are going to get close, is Hankins is now ahead of Blend. Now, there's 16 seconds between them or something around that area. Actually, it looks more like about 7 seconds, I think, between the pair of them. If Scott catches up, I'm wondering how much Brandon is going to be remembering what happened out on track before.
Yeah, it's always, what is it, an elephant never forgets? Race car drivers never forget either, and they certainly remember the first lap of the race, especially if you got turned around into the grass. But with that being said, I don't think that there's any bad blood. I don't think that Brandon's going to go out there and do anything harmful to Blend as he tries to get by, or he's not going to be overly aggressive. Remember, we're all out here for the same reason. We love racing.
We don't even know if he know who he was turned by as well.
It's a bright yellow car.
Yeah, well, true. There's very few of them in this series right now, so maybe that's a little bit easier to identify as we hop on board with Washington. A little bit sad we missed that pass. I would have liked to see how Allen managed to sneak back through, especially since it was so aggressive. And actually, it seems like Allen has a much better amount of pace because it's like 6 seconds between himself and Kyle right now.
You're right. Either that or maybe Kyle had a mistake somewhere that we missed. But you're right, a 39.15 that last lap from Metni, a 40.2. So I think that kind of proves your point right there that Metni's pace just a little bit stronger.
So our leader's still Luke French in the Pro-Am for the 992s. Kyle Washington still leads down in the Masters. And then, of course, Tom Rogers will lead down in the Masters of the Caymans as well. And that gap that he's got next to the following car is looking to be about 6.7 seconds at this stage. Tom definitely doing everything he can to make up for a loss of what could have been a great win for him yesterday.
So, Anna, I'm going to beat a dead horse a little bit more with these temperatures. You know, we've got about 13 minutes left. How nice is it inside of the race car when it's cool like this morning versus 80 degrees ambient in the afternoon?
You know, it's definitely a lot nicer feeling as a driver when you're in that car and you can stay cool and you're not overheating, because that's just another thing that kind of can distract you or make the race feel a little longer than it actually is if you're worrying about how your internal temperature is. But it's also a little difficult at the start, like we were talking about, just bringing those tires up to pace. But by the end of this race, it's usually a pretty good feeling.
Well, and you know, something we don't talk about enough, the physicality required in racing. A lot of people who aren't familiar with racing might not know how much is needed. Is there any training that you've done to help prepare yourself for what's needed in these cars?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more physically demanding than you would imagine, and any type of just like cardio and just working on your endurance and stuff can definitely help, especially during the longer races and where there's a lot of more heat than a race like this. So it's all very useful for when you actually get in the car and back on track.
This is Kyle Washington still leading down in the Masters. as he weaves it through the turn 7 hairpin, the double apex, long around both of them before it exits back into the S's. Once again, it heads to the other end of the track. This has been a pretty good one for Kyle Washington. Was not there for the first round of USA West, but he's another driver that's here for multiple races this weekend and doing his best to capitalize on that so far. So looks like he'll just tick another one off. Walsh staying within, looks like about a second or so behind him, but certainly not threatening him right now, Joey.
No, what I do want to point out, though, is our lead has almost been cut in half. It was over 4 seconds, about 4.5 seconds. Now it's about 2.5 seconds. Reason being, our leader, Luke French, is going through that Cayman GT4 field, the leaders right now, so he's got to be able to manage his way by that slower class traffic. And then Metney himself is going to have to do that as well, but at least right now, Metney taking advantage.
Those who are using this to kind of moonlight in this series to help prepare themselves for the endurance challenge a little bit later, that's going to be very helpful, getting that experience in the multi-class traffic, which, again, North America does not have this. Just the endurance challenge will share the track between the Caymans and the 992 Cup cars. So they'll be taking in some valuable knowledge, no doubt, on that one. But we'll see whether or not Metney can use this as a chance to catch up, be potentially the first person to actually beat Luke French on track this year.
It's going to be a tall task. I mean, he's grabbed pole position for every single round. He's won 3 of 3 races and currently looks to be in strong command of this one. But I say that it was 2.9 seconds gap to start the lap, and Luke French getting held up big time here by Tim Smith, who's got his own race to run and still getting held up through what is turn number 10. So we'll have to check the interval the next time around, but I have a feeling it's going to be more like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to slow him down significantly. I'll watch to see what the difference in lap times look like when he comes across the line. Last lap definitely was quite a bit slower for Luke French. This time, am I seeing this right, that Metney just set the fastest lap of his class this race?
Yeah, went purple, a 1:38.4. Wow. Compare that to Luke, who got held up a little bit, a 39.4, so a full second taken out, and now Metney is going around Tim Smith himself up there in that turn 3A section. Looks like he was able to clear him much quicker than what Luke French was. I do want to say that Tim did absolutely nothing wrong there in turn number 10. That was exactly what he needed to do. The more predictable you are, stay on the racing line, then the others can get around you safely.
Glad to see the Yokohama blimp is back up and flying. Apparently had a little bit of trouble yesterday out there on the track, but managed to get away without any sort of damage and is giving us these beautiful pictures here today as we follow Luke continue to try and put some distance between himself and Metney, and having that lap traffic at least acts as a buffer for now, because I don't think Allen has gotten by Smith yet.
No, and he's crucially going to catch this Cayman probably down into the brake zone of turn 9A. Looks like he's going to get held up once again. Not as bad as what he was the previous lap, and now he's forced to the outside of turn number 10. Looks like he learned from that previous lap. That's exactly what you want to see from a driver is, hey, what happened last lap? Let's learn and apply it to every situation moving forward.
Exactly, and tries to keep himself far enough away, does not want Allen to get a chance. Granted, as we've seen, if Metney catches him, we always like to say, Joey, it's one thing to catch a driver, it's another to pass them.
But Anna, so if you're here in Metney's position in second place and you were 4 seconds back and you see yourself taking huge chunks of time out of that gap, what does that do for your confidence?
You know, I think it's one of those things where if you just start to get on a roll, you kind of get into that zone where you feel really confident and you just keep chipping away at that time, and before you know it, you catch up, and then it's a whole nother challenge to try and actually make that pass.
Sure, it's going to be here at Sonoma. Look at that rubber being laid down through turn 5. Cars really leaning on that left-hand side through that swift corner, flat out through there in these cars. And then it's down through turn 6 and onto the drag strip as they accelerate towards 7. The gap now down to 1 second. Allen Metney has been pushing hard, clearly.
Yeah, that last lap, another 38 out of Metney, so he has definitely got that thing hooked up right now. A little bit of a wag of the tail coming out of what is turn number 7A. We have to kind of remind ourselves, 4 liters, over 500 horsepower, something like 510 horsepower out of these GT3 Cup cars. So they are extremely fast, and if you get on that throttle too fast, especially out of some of these slower speed corners, I think we were talking to Eric and Riley yesterday, you know, first gear, second gear can still be a wheel spin issue, so you still have to roll onto it.
And we saw that just there now as he had to kind of correct on his way out of the chicane. In the meantime, this is Jim Walsh, and sandwiched between himself and Daniel Hanley, and it looks like some lapped cars. So could see a change for overall position, but Hanley is racing in the Pro-Am category. So he's not really fighting for Walsh for points-paying positions, but I want to give some credit to Daniel because he is on the podium. I don't think we've even really mentioned that yet this race.
No, he's that third place on that Pro-Am podium. Unfortunately, though, he's going to get held up right here in turn number 1 and 2 from one of these Caymans. Now, I had mentioned 510 horsepower out of the GT3 Cup cars. Well, those Caymans are no slouch either. They've got the exact same motor, just a little bit slightly different tweaks and tunes. About 500 horsepower and forces his way through, and Herback almost loses it. He's going to stand on the brakes before he gets into the tire wall.
Oh, that was off the racing line coming into turn 3. No doubt that was all out of sorts. Glad to see him at least keep it from running to the barrier, and he's carrying on. So that's the good news. But if he had any hopes of catching Tim Smith, they have gone out the window now.
It happens, you know, and sometimes the cars behind you, especially those faster performance cars, kind of make some aggressive moves that can take you by surprise out there. But thankfully, he was able to keep it off of the tire wall. And I see our battle for the lead is really starting to heat up. Only about a half second between French and Metney.
Interesting. Okay, Alan Metney making a race of things with very few laps left on the board today. He's going to have to hustle if he can get there.
And I'm just noticing that previous lap, another purple fastest lap of the race from Metney. So evidently the car setup coming to him, and now Luke French responds. He has his fastest lap of the race, a 38.4.
Yeah, so they were separated by all of 0.02 of a second that lap, but that was only a personal best for French. That wasn't a race best for his class, so Metney still holding that fastest lap right now, clearly looking incredibly quick.
What I'm really enjoying about this, though, is Luke French hasn't had this yet, right? At all 3 races, he's simply run away from the rest of the field, so we're about to see him have to deal with a lot of pressure, how he's going to respond to it, if he's going to crack under it, if he's going to hang on to the lead. It's only got about 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap.
And 0.3 quicker in that first sector alone for Metney. He set his personal best first sector there. That you can see the difference now between them. He has rocked up to that back bumper of Luke French. We've seen Luke French run away from things. How is he going to deal with pressure now?
He certainly got on the gas aggressively coming out of 7A. You saw the back end of the car definitely step out from underneath him. Metney's not close enough here into turn 9A chicane. Let's see how they both roll through it. The biggest line difference that I saw right there, Metney far more aggressive over that second curb, and you saw it cost him just a little bit of time.
There was quite a bit of wheel spin, though, from French, too. I'm amazed he's managed to pull away as much as he has. What's it like experiencing that pressure when a car is quicker than you behind, Anna?
You know, it's definitely hard to stay focused and not watch your mirrors too much, but if you do get sucked into those mirrors, it can often cost you quite a bit. So it's really important to just keep your eyes out the windshield and keep pushing and try not to let it affect your driving that much.
Metney with another fastest lap of the race, now down to a 38.2. That car is really coming alive here. French is going to have to be perfectly on his marks in these last couple laps of the race. Can Allen do anything to deny him 4 straight wins?
You had mentioned that previous lap, he was so much faster in Sector 1, and you could actually see it starting this lap. It seems like Metney just rolls so much more speed up through turn number 1, while Luke is a little bit easier on those front tires. And I do think that there could be some positive to being a little bit easier on those really extremely heavy load corners. If you can save the front end of the car for another 2.5 minutes, it'll be there for you at the end.
When you think about the first sector, there's really no place to pass in there. So if you're going to be slow in any portion, that's not the worst place to be. It's the second two sectors that have most of the great places to try and overtake, and this is where French is starting to put a bit more distance between himself and the 298.
I'm also seeing maybe a little bit of a difference in driving style from Luke, and once again, different lines through that turn 9A chicane. And what I was going to mention is Luke's starting to use a lot more of those apex curbs, and that tells me the driver sees the other car in the mirror, and he is really starting to push his limits.
The interesting thing about all this is Kyle Washington's about 15 seconds behind them, so he's not really any concern, not just because he's in a different class, but he's a long ways away. So it is a mano-a-mano fight here for the win with about 3 laps to go.
And you see once again that wider line through turn number 1 for Luke French, while Metney just kind of carves the inside right there. And there could be another reason for that too. Now, there are some aerodynamic effects off of the back end of these cars, and it's not too tremendous like an open wheeler. However, if you can get that nose into the clean air, it will provide that air to the splitter, which will give you the grip.
I think for a split second there, Luke was trying to protect the inside coming down into turn 4, and then came back to the racing line, just trying to keep his speed up. Oh, this is looking very close coming out of turn 6. What kind of run is Metney going to have? Is he going to dive to the inside? This is the closest we've seen him coming down to this hairpin at turn 7. He shows himself, but he can't get side by side by the time they reach the apex. Anna, if you're in Metney's shoes and you know you're quicker in that first sector, how would you try and get by?
Personally, I would try and look for that setup. If you know that your strength is that first sector, like really capitalize on that and just try and be consistent and keep putting on the pressure so that hopefully the person in front of you makes a mistake and you're able to capitalize.
Off of the chicane once again, finding himself just not quite close enough. They're going to get to the line with just a few seconds left. Remember, the way they run these timed races in Porsche Sprint Challenge is it is 35 minutes plus 1 lap, so they will have to come around one more time to 0 on the clock before they can get the white flag, staying right up on top of him. Alan Metney knows his opportunities are running away. Where is he going to try it?
He once again presents the car right there in turn number 2. Oh, Luke is way loose at the top of the hill. Metney's going to go driver's right, but Luke French is going to have the racing line. It's going to be elbows out. Metney with a forceful pass around the outside.
Through turn 3, but back underneath him. He's going to get to the inside. Luke French deeper down into turn 4. He now finds himself victim to the over-under. Here comes Metney right back beside him into turn 5. Who is going to have the inside down into turn 6? It looks like Luke French with his nose barely into there, chopped off down to the apex. Alan Metney will not be denied.
Metney was just barely clear, and he chopped that nose of Luke French. Overtakes for the lead coming up to the white flag here, and you see Luke flashing the lights. I don't think he appreciated that too much.
No, he thought that was a bit close, I think, and he still has a lap to try and get back at him. The question is, can he get close enough? The good news for Luke, he tends to be quicker through this portion. And look at that. We've got lap traffic coming. That could affect it as well.
Definitely, and they're going to catch it at kind of an oddball spot. They're going to get through the 9A chicane, and that is Londo, so he's got a cup car as well. He's going to be accelerating down, and Metney kind of slips up once again through the chicane. This could be an opportunity for Luke.
I almost anticipate that Luke's going to try. Oh, but he slips wide coming through turn 10. He loses valuable car lengths. There is that lap traffic of Londo almost in the way. Luke trying to get himself lined up off the corner. Great job by Michael to pull off to the side and let them through. White flag is out. 1 to decide this race.
Metney crucially got by that lap traffic a little bit more efficiently. Luke was kind of struggling down there in that turn 11 hairpin. This was the mistake area just a lap prior, and it seems like both of the cars made it through. Look at how hard French is pushing. He's dipping tires off on the exits.
Kicking up just a little bit of dirt at this stage. He's got to stay as close as possible. The car wags coming off of turn 3A. He is clearly pushing at 10 tenths, but has he taken up too much? Is the car out of juice?
Well, and look just in front. We've got even more lap traffic, and it's going to be a lot thicker this time. I'm going to be curious if they're able to clear these Cayman GT4s on this drag strip straightaway here down towards turn number 7.
And I think that's a battle for position. I think that's Manny and Henry there. And Manny's going to do the right thing. He's going to pull out of the way, let them through Meanwhile, I don't know that Marshall's going to be as nice. Yes, he is. He's going to let them by down to the inside. That might cause a change for position back there in the Caymans. No, they'll stay as they are, still right on top of them. Luke French applying the pressure. Will he get a chance down at a 9?
Let's see, really uses that curb, and that upsets the car. I think that's going to do it for him, at least into this 9A chicane. It's all about how Metney is able to accelerate out. Looks like he puts the traction down to the ground.
Oh, and another little slide from Luke. Just a bit too eager on that right foot. I don't think he's close enough down into 11. He could try and send it, and he is going to try and do it. Gets to the inside. Contact between the cars. That's going to spin Metney. Luke French will get to the line first. The question is, will he be our victor as he wins today at race 2 in Sonoma? Where is Metney? Has he managed to get the car going?
I have not seen him. Here he comes, a cross start finish right now, so he will finish in second place on the road, but this is one of those things. Kyle Washington, you know what, let's give a shout out here. Third place overall, but your 992 Cup Car class winner for the Masters.
And Tom Rogers is coming out of the chicane just now. What a fantastic race to respond to his woes yesterday. He knows that he finished quickest out there in race 1, just couldn't take it because of a penalty, and the crews are coming out to the front stretch to celebrate with their phones out to record this win. They're going to be so proud as Rogers wins in the Masters Cayman category.
I think that's definitely a redemption drive there for Tom Rogers, but, we can armchair quarterback this all we want. I think that one's going to be decided by race control for that overall class win here today.
Yes, indeed. Krigler and Herback now coming home. So we're getting some word that we're thinking a drive-through penalty is looking like it's going to be applied. We'll try and get things official. Yes, now I'm seeing it officially added by race control. Drive-through penalty added post-race for the 215. It's a 10-second gap to where Metney finished. That should eat that up, and I believe Metney will wind up our winner.
Luke, I get it, right? He's won all 3 races so far. He led the majority of this race, and he was so close down there at that final passing opportunity of turn number 11 just because of the traffic and everything. So I understand it. I get the aggression. I think it was just a little bit too much.
Yeah, the red mist was down. And a lesson to be learned today for sure as we go through our race results. The penalty has been applied, so Metney now officially will be our winner. I know it says here on the unofficial results Luke finished first, but he has now been pushed back. Washington will be P2, but our winner in the Masters. And now it's been corrected. There we go. Jim Walsh with an excellent second place in the Masters. Hanley moves himself up into P2 as well in the Pro-Am category. And Hankins, after he got spun on the first lap, gets back onto the podium. Meanwhile, French will wind up 6th overall, 4th in class. Scott Blend will get on the podium for Masters, 7th overall. Krigler will be P8, and Londo will be 9th, as looks like Larkins and Brantz did not start for this one, Joey.
Yeah, then we got that Cayman class. Our Cayman's Masters class winner is going to be Tom Rogers by an impressive 14 seconds. He's probably wondering where that was yesterday for himself. And then comes Tim Smith second in that Cayman Masters class. Greg Herback will finish in 3rd in that class. Henry Marshall is going to finish 4th in the Cayman's Masters. And then Manny Tartaglione picks up yet another class win in the Pro-Ams in the Caymans.
Well, that concludes the last of our Sprint Challenge races, but the coverage is not done. We have the podium ceremonies coming your way shortly, so stick around. Great job.
Experience the ultimate thrill. Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our final Porsche Sprint Challenge Podium. It's the USA West Series, and we're going to start off with the Cayman Masters. Finishing third today, driving the number 49, it's Greg Herback. In P2 today, driving the number 70, Tim Smith. And in a fantastic response to yesterday, finishing first in the number 44, it's Tom Rogers.
Hey, Tom, I'll climb up on your right side here. Well, redemption run after yesterday.
Oh, just keep trying. I really appreciate Sonoma, Porsche Motorsport, of course, Tatum Racing, giving a great car, but you just keep coming back. Great competition, really fun. Thank you.
Now, are you going to have to talk to your competitors about the 10-second lead that you didn't get yesterday that you had today?
Yeah, we had a yellow course for a bit, but I couldn't have done it yesterday, but it was just a great race. Yeah.
Well, congrats on that win today. Go celebrate.
And now we get to celebrate with some champagne. Once again, big congratulations to our Cayman Masters winners here in the USA West Series. Let's give it up for them one more time. And now it's time for our Cayman Pro-Am. Our winner today, back-to-back this weekend in the number 59, Manny Tartaglione!
Manny, congrats. You made it 2 for 2 this weekend. How does it feel?
Feels good. Had a lot to say yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to, so I'm happy to be up here now.
Well, let's let it out, man. What do you think about the racetrack? What do you think about both races?
Well, this is a beautiful piece of country out here. First time out here. Really enjoyed it. Really happy with the team. Thanks to Porsche West, the competitors. Hope everybody's okay from yesterday, and looking forward to the next one.
That's a true professional right there. Thank you so much for coming out and racing with us. Time to go celebrate. Thank you.
Of course, Manny gets to spray some champagne! That now takes us to the Good Boy Vodka Fastest Lap Award. Today, that's going to go to the number 44 of Tom Rogers! Congrats to Tom for the fastest lap of the race here in race number 2. Now it's time for the 992 Masters. Finishing third today, driving the 245, Scott Bland. Back-to-back second places for P2 today. The number 269 of Jim Walsh. Some fantastic racing today from our Victor. In first, it's the 232 of Kyle Washington.
Kyle, let's get that thing around your neck, and I'll climb up here on your right side. So, first of all, congrats on the win. That was one heck of a move down in turn 6 on lap 1.
Yeah, it was tight. I thought Alan was closing the door, but my car, I didn't really want to slow down, so I just kept in it.
Well, hey, you made it work, and then you ended up here on the top of the podium. How was the rest of the race? It seemed like you were in control.
Yeah, it was great. The GMG guys put a great car together. We started the last 3 races for different reasons. So, starting in mid-pack is a little bit easier than back of the bus.
Well, congrats on the win. It's time to celebrate.
Let's hold up those trophies high. And now we get to celebrate with some champagne. Once again, a big congratulations to our podium finishers for the 992 Masters. This now takes us to the Apex Award. This goes to the hard charger of the race, and today, that goes to the 243 of Daniel Hanley. Congratulations to Daniel. Hardest charger in today's race number 2. Now we go to the 992 Pro-Am podium. Finishing third today, it's the 295 driver, Brannon Hankins. In P2, it's the 243 of Daniel Hanley. And our winner, giving us quite a battle at the end, it's the 290 of Alan Metney.
I'll be here on your right side, Alan. So you came back from a 4.5+ second gap. When did you finally feel that you had the car to hunt down the lead and ultimately grab this win?
Well, the car felt good the whole race, and I think I had a little bit easier time through traffic than Luke in front of me, and I saw that it was doable, so I pushed hard, and it worked out pretty well.
And how did you like the competition from Luke all weekend? It certainly seemed like he gave you somebody to race.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a whole bunch of fun. We had a great time up the hill and at the top of the hill. It was really good to train and to get to race with him, so I enjoyed it.
Well, congrats on the win here today. It's time to celebrate.
Hold those trophies high. And now let's celebrate with some champagne. Let's hear it for our winners in the 992 Pro-Am. That's going to wrap it up for the